Hello, friends, and welcome to Pathologic Volume 5, Episode 14. Today we are going to be solving a puzzle called Chocona, which I don't know much about, so we'll have to figure it out together. Quick reminder first, if you are a puzzle constructor or would like to give it a shot, please head over to the Discord for instructions on how to submit a puzzle for future featuring on this channel. But today, we just need to get it started by taking a look at the rules. Chocona is a shading puzzle. We will shade some cells so that each orthogonally connected area of shaded cells is in the shape of a rectangle. Orthogonally connected simply means that from one cell in the region you can get to any other by just going horizontally and vertically within that region. So this is telling us that we can't have any oddly shaped shaded areas in the grid. They're all going to be rectangles, and of course squares are a type of rectangle. Regions with numbers must contain the indicated amount of shaded cells. So this 5 region with 5 cells has to be entirely shaded. This 2 region needs exactly 2 shaded cells in it. 0 needs to have none, and the rules don't require that every region have a number. So while that's true in this example, we could have a puzzle where there are some regions that are completely undefined and we just wouldn't know anything about those. Those are the rules of Chocona, so it's time to solve a puzzle. Today's Chocona puzzle was set by Shye. I think the place to look, as with many of these puzzles with numbers in them, are big numbers and little numbers, and for this puzzle, we're going to define big to mean as close to the size of the region as possible, because I immediately see we have a 5 in a 5-cell region, so that's going to have to be entirely shaded. And we have a 9 in a 9-cell region, so that is also entirely shaded. Those are all the ones that I see as completely givens. Then we've got some that are close, like 4 out of 5 of these will need to be shaded, for example. But let's start with these 2 givens and see what comes out of that. We know that shaded areas need to be rectangular, and this is decidedly not. So we are not told from this how big this rectangle will end up being, but we have a minimum. It's got to be at least this 3x3, so we can extend it like that. And then we can look at this 5 region and see that 4 of its cells are already shaded. It can only take 1 more. And if this rectangle were to would be to extended east or south, in either way, either of those options, we'd be shading 2 more cells in this region, which would not be all right. So we have in fact bounded this first rectangle as a 3x3 square. And the 5-cell region, the 5 shaded region, needs 1 more shaded cell to complete itself. This one right there. The 4 that we were looking at earlier, we said 4 out of the 5 needed to be shaded, and now we know which 4 those are. We can extend this to make it at least a rectangle. Again, might get larger. Before we look at that anymore, I think we can do more with that, but down here, this is interesting. We've got this shaded cell diagonally adjacent to another shaded area with this one unshaded. So we can't shade this cell or we would be connecting to something that's not rectangular. So that's not shaded, which bounds this rectangle on the south side. And the logic we used in this 5 for not extending this rectangle applies here, because if this were to extend east, we'd get 2 more in this region, which could only take a maximum of 2 cells. So this rectangle is also done. That tells me from this 2 that this cell has to be shaded, and that also that it can't extend south, because if it did, it would meet up with this region, and this unshaded cell would be a problem for that. We wouldn't be able to shade that as we needed to. So does not extend south, which also bounds that rectangle below on the north end. This rectangle could extend east still at this point, though. What about this big one? Where can we extend it? It can't go east or south because of this one clue. So actually it is bounded on both of those sides, and that gives us where the 1 goes right there. And this 2 region has only 2 candidate cells left, so both of those must be shaded. This cell can't be shaded because it would join these into a non-rectangle. And this rectangle is bounded on all 4 sides now. So let's mark that. That tells us from this 2 that there is one, because there's only 1 candidate left and we've shaded 1, this has to be shaded. And what about this 3? I can immediately see what it's going to do. I'm just going to try to formalize it. If this cell were shaded, this would have to be unshaded because we can't have an L. And that would force these 2 to be shaded, giving us an L anyway. So this can't be shaded. So these 3 have to be shaded to finish our rectangle up here in the corner. Okay, let's see if we can forge our way west from this big rectangle. This region, this F pentamino here, needs 3 shaded cells. And so no matter what we do, at least one of these is going to be shaded. And because of that, we know this rectangle must extend west. Like so. And we already have it bounded on the north and south. So that means this 3 has to include this cell as well, which pushes this rectangle even further west and finishes off this 2 clue. So now we've got it bounded on all 4 sides. That is bigger than I expected that to get. This region has only 3 candidates left for its 3 cells. Let's fill those in. And we can't shade this one because of the diagonal thing that we've seen a few times. Now we've got 3 out of these 4 are shaded, which, just like we saw here, that means at least one of these must be shaded. And if one of those is shaded, then this goes west, so both of these are shaded. And this rectangle can't go south because of this blocker. So this is also a blocker, which means this 3 is shaded here, which means this rectangle comes up like so. But it can't go any further, because if it did, then we'd have 3 shaded cells in a 2 region. So it stops right there. And we need 1 more cell for our 2 region, and it's going to be right here. And that is how you solve a Chocona.